Ashfall lays itself out below you like something dropped and never picked up. Black smoke stands in 3 separate columns downtown. Far to the north, a radio tower pins the grey sky to its hill. Across the street, the supermarket lot is a slow, seething carpet of bodies, dozens of them, swaying, drifting, going nowhere. Then, close, much too close. Bang, bang, bang. Someone is hammering on a door down your own hallway, not yours. The next apartment, maybe the one after. A voice comes through the wall, pitched low and cracking with terror. The kind of whisper that's really a scream a person's too frightened to let out. Please, anyone, help me. Please, the door, open the... And under it, threaded through it, something else. A wet, rolling growl in the corridor. Then the drag of a foot. Then more than one. You're on your feet without deciding to be. Your pack sits by the couch where you slept, backed, leaning against it. Knife already a familiar weight at your hip. The apartment door between you and the hallway is shut, but not locked. A flimsy interior thing with a brass handle gone green. Whatever is out there, it's between that stranger and any way down. You do the cold thing, the smart thing. You melt back from the door, lowering yourself behind the couch, pulling your pack against your chest so the buckles don't rattle. You breathe through your mouth, slow, the way you learned somewhere you can't remember learning it. Not my problem and not my door. Stay small. The hammering down the hall reaches a frantic pitch and then stops being hammering. It becomes something else, a scrabble. A body thrown against wood, but from the wrong side now, losing ground. No, 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 please. The growls fold over the voice like water closing over a stone. There's a sound you will not be able to unhear. Not a scream exactly, but the end of one cut into wet pieces. A thud against the hallway floor. Then the low, contented, grinding chorus of feeding. You stay behind the couch. You keep your eyes on the brass handle of your own door and you do not move. But your heel, shifting, finds the child's shoe on the floorboards and nudges it into the radiator. Tink. Small, so small. In a quiet room it would be nothing. The feeding stops. Out in the hall, something lifts its head. You hear it, the change in the growl. The way it turns from wet and busy to dry and searching. A foot drags, then another, coming down the hall, coming toward the sound, toward your door. The green brass handle 6 feet away gives the faintest metallic click as something on the other side leans its weight against it, testing, curious. Brace the door shut. You don't lunge. You float up from behind the couch in one low, controlled motion, palms out, weight already shifting before your feet catch up. No wasted sound. You put your shoulder to the door just as the handle gives its next testing rattle, and you feel the thing on the other side through the wood. A soft, boneless, insistent pressure, like a drunk leaning on a wall. The couch is close. You hook one arm around its end and walk it into place behind you, an inch at a time, the frame whispering across the floorboards. You wedge it under the handle, angle it against the jamb, and lower your whole body against the cushions. Then you stop breathing. The handle turns a quarter inch, stops. The pressure builds that dull, patient weight and the old brass creaks. Your heels dig into the floorboards. For 3 long seconds, you are the only thing in the world holding a door shut, and the whole feeding chorus down the hall is one wrong noise away from joining in. The pressure holds, and then it eases. The weight lifts off the wood. A foot drags, turning away. The growl loses its dry, searching edge and goes wet and dull again as the thing loses the thread of you and drifts back toward the easier meal cooling in the corridor. Down the hall, the grinding sounds of feeding resume unbothered. You stay against the couch, cheek to the cushion, your pulse loud in your own ears. The door is shut. The room is yours. And out that fractured window, the grey city keeps burning quietly in the rain, indifferent to whether you live or die in here. For the moment, you're safe, alone with 2 cans of food, half a bottle of water, and every exit but one blocked by the dead. Search the apartment. You give the pack a few minutes to settle, then rise and start working the apartment the way you'd read a book you're afraid to wake every drawer eased, every cabinet caught before it can bang, every step chosen for the boards that don't complain. The kitchen gives up the small treasures of a life interrupted. Behind a cereal box someone shoved aside in their hurry, a dented can of peaches and a half sleeve of stale saltines. In a drawer of rubber bands and dead pens, a nearly full bottle of painkillers rattles quietly into your palm. A box of Strike Anywhere matches goes into the pack beside your lighter. You never trust a single flame. The hall closet is better, tucked behind a vacuum that hasn't run in a year. A claw hammer, its grip worn smooth, heavier than your knife, quiet and it pries. A folded plastic rain poncho, cheap and gloriously dry. You pull it on, and the drizzle stops mattering. The bedroom is where the apartment stops being loot and starts being people. A child's room, really dinosaur sheets, a nightlight, drawings taped crooked to the wall. On the dresser, a photo. A young mother, a boy maybe 6, both squinting into a summer that no longer exists. And propped against the lamp, unmistakable, a folded flyer on damp cardstock, a rising sun printed in gold. Beneath it, a handwritten line someone underlined twice. The Church of Dawn's sanctuary at St. Agatha's Riverside. We open the doors at dusk. Bring nothing but yourself. On the back, in shakier pen, if we get separated, meet me there. Don't wait past 3 nights. I love you. M. The apartment is very quiet. Down the hall, the feeding has finally gone still. Either they wandered off or there's simply nothing left worth chewing. Eat and drink first. You make yourself do it properly. A body running on nothing makes stupid, loud, fatal mistakes, and you've been awake for an hour without a bite. You sit with your back against the couch you just used as a barricade, the claw hammer within reach, and you eat. One of your own cans, first cold ravioli, congealed and salty, scraped out with the flat of your knife. Then the saltines, gone soft with damp but still bread-shaped, still something. You wash it down with slow mouthfuls from the water bottle, careful not to let yourself gulp. The level drops to a swallow or two. You cap it and tell yourself the rest is for later, and mean it. The food settles the shaking in your hands you hadn't fully noticed until it's stopped. Warmth that isn't temperature spreads through you. The room comes back into focus. The dinosaur sheets, the crooked drawings, the photo face down where you left it because you couldn't quite keep looking at it. Please, anyone, help me? You chew, and you don't think about it. You're good at not thinking about it. That's a skill now, apparently. One of the ones that keeps you alive. Outside, the rain thins to a mist. The city exhales smoke into a low grey sky. Somewhere north, faint and mechanical, that helicopter thuds across the clouds again, there and gone, circling something you can't see. You're fed, you're watered, you're dry under a stolen poncho, and for the first time since you opened your eyes, your body isn't screaming at you about any one thing, which leaves only the question of how you get out of this building alive. Scout from the window first. You crouch below the sill and ease the fractured window up just enough to put one eye to the gap. Cold mist beads on the poncho hood. From 3 floors up, ashfall spreads out wet and grey, and you make yourself read it the way you'd read a room full of people who might want to kill you. Straight down out front, the main street, and it's a no. The supermarket lot bleeds its overflow up the block, walkers in 1s and 2s drifting between dead cars, aimless until they aren't. Cross that, and you're a lunch bell. The building's own bones offer something better. Bolted to the brick just past the bedroom window, a fire escape zigzags down into the alley behind the building, rusted, sagging at one landing, but intact. The alley itself is narrow, choked with dumpsters and a collapsed section of chain link. Quiet, shielded from the swarm out front, except it isn't empty. A battered pickup sits nose in at the alley mouth, tailgate down. Sloppy white paint sprays a crude snarling dog across the driver's door. 2 men work a stalled sedan beside it, one lean and quick, popping the trunk with a crowbar, the other bigger, keeping a shotgun cradled loose in his arms while he watches the alley. They move like men who own the block. On the bigger one's jacket, that same white dog, The lean one says something you can't hear and laughs, tossing a bundle of cable into the truck bed. They're in no hurry, and they're sitting right on top of your quiet way down. Call out and make contact. The words are out before you've fully committed to them. Pitch low, aim down through the gap in the sash, just loud enough to carry across the wet alley and no louder. Hey, up here. I'm not looking for trouble. The effect is instant and ugly. Bull doesn't startle so much as pivot. The pump shotgun swings up off his forearms, and the black eye of the muzzle finds your window before you finish the sentence, tracking to the exact dark square of glass you're crouched behind. He goes still that way, planted, barrel steady. Not a flinch of panic in him, just a big man who has done this before. Salt jumps a full startled hop back against the sedan's bumper, crowbar half raised, and then you watch something turn over in him. The fear curdles into something worse, a grin. He wipes rain off his stubbled scalp with one palm and steps out from behind the trunk and into the open, hands spreading wide and easy, like he's greeting an old friend at a bar. Hey yourself, neighbor. His voice bounces up the brick, all warmth, none of it real. The chipped tooth shows no trouble. Look at me, no trouble at all. You been up there this whole time? Watching us work? That's rude, man. You could have come said hi. He drifts a step closer to the building, angling to keep you in sight, and Bull's shotgun never wavers off the glass. So how about you? Tell me what you're doing in there, and we figure out how we all get through the morning friendly. You got a name? Below the friendliness, the arithmetic is naked. One voice, no shots fired, a window 3 floors up. Salt has already decided you're alone and soft. Bull hasn't decided anything. He's just waiting, finger indexed along the trigger guard, to see which way this breaks. Give a name, stay guarded. Sam, that's all you get for free. You keep the rest of yourself behind the frame, a voice and a sliver of shadow. Nothing they can put a number to. Salt laughs, delighted, like you've said something clever. Sam, see, that's a start, that's neighborly. He turns a slow half circle in the alley, arms still out, showing you the whole friendly picture of himself, and you notice the circle carries him another 2 steps toward the base of the fire escape. I'm Salt, that's Bull. Bull don't say much. He lets the 12-gauge handle his end of the conversation. Bull says nothing. The barrel stays welded to your window. Here's the thing, Sam. The warmth thins just slightly, the businessman coming up under the salesman. You're up there, we're down here. And there's a whole lot of dead folks out front who'd love to join the party if anybody gets loud. So I'm going to do you a kindness. This block belongs to the dogs. Now the truck's kind of the whole announcement, yeah? He taps the snarling dog patch on his shoulder. That means what's in that building is ours too, technically. But I'm a reasonable man. You come down and you show us you're not sitting on a pile of something we want. Maybe you walk out of here with your teeth, or, he shrugs easy, you make us climb up after you. And Bull hates stairs. The chipped tooth grin comes back. He's already glancing at the fire escape's bottom rung, then back up at you, weighing whether the climb is worth it. He thinks you're alone. He thinks you're soft. And the clock on that front swarm is his clock too. He doesn't want to be here forever, any more than you do. Break off. Drop out of sight. You don't answer. You just lean back off the window frame and let the grey light swallow you down onto your heels below the sill, out of the sliver of sightline. Gone. For a moment there's only the mist and the far-off, dry rattle of the swarm. Then Salt's voice climbs the brick, and the friendliness has gone out of it like heat off a stone. Huh, he did the quiet thing. I hate the quiet thing. A pause. Rain ticking on metal. You still hear me, Sam? That was your one kindness, and you just walked away from it. Real smart. Then lower, not meant for you. But sound carries in a dead city. Go up and get him. Bull's answer is the first full thing you've heard him say, flat and final as a drop board. No. A beat. 3 floors, 1 stair, and a man who won't talk no more. That's how you go up whole and come down in pieces. He's got nothing worth it, or he'd have bargained. Load the truck. You hear Salt spit. A crowbar goes back to work on the sedan trunk. faster now, angrier, metal shrieking against metal, and under it a new sound. The slow, deliberate crunch of boots on wet grit circling. Bull has moved. He's found an angle in the alley where he can watch the black rectangle of your window and the building's rear door at the same time. Shotgun cradled, patient. Not coming up, just making sure nothing comes down. The standoff has changed shape. They won't storm you, but Bull has quietly nailed your fire escape route shut with his eyes and that 12 gauge, and the front is still a wall of teeth. Salt's crowbar tells you the same thing his mouth did. They're on a clock, working fast, and when the truck's full, they'll leave. The question is whether you can afford to wait that long with a nearly empty bottle and a dead city between you and anywhere safe. Search the apartment for water. You move on the balls of your feet, poncho gathered so it won't rustle, and you do the smart thing. You stop thinking about faucets and start thinking about reservoirs. The kitchen tap gives you nothing but a groan of dry air and a brown cough that you shut off fast. But the bathroom is where the city keeps its secrets. You lift the lid off the toilet tank, not the bowl, the tank, the clean holding reservoir behind it with both hands, slow, and set it on the bath mat without a sound, almost. The porcelain lip clinks against the faucet. On the way down, a single bright note. Below, the crowbar stops. You freeze, bottle in hand, heart slamming, a long 5 seconds. Then Salt's voice, muttering something you can't make out. And the shriek of metal resumes. A pigeon, a settling building, a dead man's radiator. The city is full of little clinks, bulls not climbing 3 floors for one. Inside the tank, a good half-gallon of water, cold and clear enough. Faintly of mineral and old plumbing, but a world away from the swill in the streets. You tip your bottle under the surface and let it glug full, then drink your fill straight from your cupped hand, real water, more than a swallow. The first honest drink you haven't had to ration since you woke up. There's plenty left in the tank if you had a way to carry it, but the bottle, brimming and capped, is the win you can take with you. One need crossed off the list. Below, the crowbar keeps working and the truck keeps filling. Check the neighbouring apartments. The couch slides on the carpet with a low grind you feel in your teeth, an inch at a time, until there's a gap. You put your eye to it first, then ease the door open on the dim hallway beyond. The smell hits before the sight does copper and opened bowel, thick in the stale air. Your success this morning has a receipt and it's lying 12 feet down the corridor. The survivor. What's left of them? A man, you think, though it's hard to be sure, now sprawled on his back against the base of the door across the hall, the one he'd hammered on and begged at, while you crouched behind your couch and said nothing. The infected made a mess and then wandered off bored. His outstretched hand is still a foot from that door. Nobody ever opened it. A few things stand out, clear and cold, now that you're actually looking. His backpack lies where it slid when he fell a couple of feet clear of the body, straps out, apparently intact, untouched by the dead. They don't care about canvas. The door he died against, 3B, is shut and silent, its cheap paint gouged with claw marks around the handle. Whoever was inside, if anyone, was never answered him. You can't tell if it's locked or just abandoned. One door down the hall stands ajar, 3A, darkness in the gap, no sound coming out. And at the very end of the corridor, where it opens toward the internal stairwell, there's a shape, a single walker, standing in the grey stairwell light, swaying faintly on its feet like a man dozing upright, facing away. It hasn't heard the couch. It hasn't heard you, but it's parked squarely between you and the stairs down. Grab the dead man's backpack. You go out low and slow, weight rolling heel to toe, eyes locked on the swaying shape at the end of the hall. 12 feet becomes 8. The smell is a wall now. You don't look at his face, you try not to, but you're right on top of him to reach the straps, and the looking happens anyway. He wasn't old, wedding band still on. His eyes are open and gone milky, fixed at the ceiling with an expression you'll be seeing later when you close your own. His fist, even in death, is knotted in the fabric of his own jacket collar, like he'd been holding onto himself at the end, a foot from a door, nobody opened. You get 2 fingers under the pack strap and lift instead of drag. No scrape, no sound. Then you're backing away, the same slow roll, until the apartment doorway swallows you and you can breathe through your sleeve again. The walker never stopped swaying. It never knew you were there, inside. With the door eased shut, you go through the pack fast and quiet. It's a good haul, the kid of a man who'd planned to make it. 2 energy bars and a fat twist of beef jerky, a half-litre sports drink unopened, electrolyte blue, a folding multi-tool, and at the bottom, wrapped in a sock like something precious, a stubby .38 revolver, cylinder holding 5 rounds, the hammer worn shiny from handling, a firearm. Loud enough to bring the whole street down on you, but a very different conversation with anyone who climbs your stairs. Tucked in the front pocket, a folded scrap of paper. His handwriting, hurried, a rough street map with the supermarket lot slashed out and circled, "Dead don't," an arrow bending east toward the river, and 3 words underlined twice, St. Agatha's. Dusk. He'd been going to the same place your flyer promises. He just never made it out of the hallway. Kill the walker quietly. You cross the hall on cat feet, knife reversed, picking the soft hollow at the base of the skull, 1 clean thrust, and it folds. That's the plan. The plan lasts until the last step. A floorboard you didn't see gives a short, dry crack under your heel, and the walker turns faster than dead things should, milk eyes swinging around, jaw already coming open. Your thrust was aimed at the back of a neck that isn't there anymore. The blade skates off its cheekbone and buries in the meat of its shoulder instead of its brain, and then cold hands have your jacket. It shrieks a wet, ragged wail that fills the stairwell and rolls down the shaft like water finding a drain. It's strong, wrong strong, no sense of its own weight, dragging you in toward that snapping mouth. Your knife stuck in its shoulder. Its teeth clack shut inches from your forearm, then your throat, its whole ruined body pistoning against you while your boots skid on the boards. You've got one hand fisted in its collar, holding the jaw back, and the other still white-knuckled on the buried knife, and the reek of it is in your mouth. Below, muffled through the floor, you hear Salt whoop something that might be a laugh, and the crowbar's rhythm speeds up. No boots on the stairs. They're not coming. They're happy to let the house eat you. And somewhere down the hall, past the ajar door of 3A, something else stirs at the sound. A soft, dragging shuffle. The shriek didn't go unanswered. You're chest to chest with it. Knife pinned, seconds to decide. Rip the knife free and stab again. The shriek is still ringing when you move. You plant your boot against its hip and wrench the knife tears loose from its shoulder in a spray of something black and cold. And before the momentum dies, you reverse the swing and drive the blade up under its jaw, punching through the soft palate into whatever's left of the brain. The wrong strength goes out of it all at once. It sags. 160 pounds of dead weight suddenly dead, and you let it slide off the knife to the floor. It hits the boards with a wet, boneless thud. Silence ringing in your ears. Your hands are shaking. The knife is filthy. But the stairwell at the end of the hall is clear. Except the shriek already spent its coin. Down the corridor, the ajar door of 3A groans wider, pushed from inside, and a shape lists out into the grey light. A woman, or was, a quilted pink bathrobe gone stiff and dark down the front, hair matted, one slippered foot dragging. She turns her ruined face toward the noise, toward you, and her jaw works. The math writes itself in your gut. She was behind 3A this whole time, close enough to hear a man scream and hammer and beg at the door across the hall, and she never opened it. Now she's out here anyway, and she's between you and the stairs. She's slow a dragger, not the wrong strong kind, but she's up and she's coming, and the fight you just won made enough noise to wake the whole floor. Your own apartment door and its braced couch are a few steps behind you. The stairwell is past her. Retreat and re-brace the door. You don't gamble on the stairs. You back off fast, 3 steps, 4, and shoulder through your own doorway as the dragger lists after you. That slippered foot scraping a slow rhythm across the boards. She's coming. She's just not coming fast. You get both hands on the couch and haul it back across the door the instant it's shut, walking it into place with your hip and thigh until the frame's pinned. You've barely straightened when the pressure arrives, a soft, boneless thump against the wood, then the drag of fingernails, patient and mindless, working down the panel in a long, slow scratch. Scritch. Thump. Scritch. She doesn't shriek. Draggers don't, mostly. She just leans there and works at the door with the dumb persistence of water, and the couch doesn't budge, and after a minute your heartbeat starts to come down out of your throat. You're safe. Boxed, but safe. The window's still yours. The dead man's pack is on your shoulder. You've got a gun. You didn't have 20 minutes ago, and a full bottle of water and a map that agrees with your flyer about where a person's supposed to go. But the exits have all gotten worse. The hall behind that door has a corpse and a scratcher in it now, and the noise you made is a debt the floor might still come to collect. Below your window, the crowbar keeps shrieking against metal salt and bull, working faster, waiting for the building to finish the job they wouldn't climb the stairs to do. Sooner or later, that truck fills up and they leave. The question is what's left of the morning by the time it does, and whether the scratching at your door stays one set of fingernails or becomes a chorus. Load and check the revolver. The couch groans against the door under a slow, patient weight scritch. Scritch. Scritch the dragger's nails working the wood in the hallway. Not urgent. Not going anywhere. You put your back to the far wall, where the sound is thinnest, and let it become weather. The revolver comes out of the dead man's pack, cold and heavier than it looks. Snub nose, barely longer than your palm, the bluing worn to grey silver at the muzzle and the edges of the cylinder. Somebody carried this a long time before it ended up here. You find the release with your thumb and swing the cylinder out. 5 chambers, 5 brass rims staring back, primers unstruck full the way the map said, the way you hoped. You tip them into your palm one at a time and turn each in the grey window light. Dull, soft-nosed rounds, a little tarnish on the casings, but no green rot, no split necks. One has a scuff on the primer where a hammer fell and didn't take a dud maybe, or maybe just a hard pull. You set that one aside in your mind, last in the order, if it comes to that. Thumb them back in. The cylinder swings home with a small oiled click that you feel more than hear. You ease the hammer, check that it isn't cocked, and hold the thing a moment, testing the weight of it against the truth of it. 5 shots, and every one of them a scream in a building full of things that come to screaming. Downstairs past the glass, you can hear the flat clang of bull and salt still stripping cars, unhurried. Scritch, scritch. This is the last resort card, and you know it. But it's in your hand now, and it's real, and that's worth something. Eat and drink now. You do the math the way you keep doing it now, quietly, coldly, the way you never used to think about food. Low as you are, you'll be slow and stupid climbing down a wet fire escape, and slow and stupid is how people end up on the wrong side of a door. Eat now, while the eating's safe. You unwrap one of the energy bars, peeling the foil back a centimetre at a time so it won't crinkle. It's dense and oversweet and a little stale, and it might be the best thing you've ever put in your mouth. You make yourself chew slow. Behind it, a few strips of the beef jerky, salt and smoke and jaw work, the kind of food that takes a while and tells your body there's more where that came from, even when there isn't. The sports drink you crack next, and the seal breaks with a soft hiss that makes you freeze and glance at the door. The scratching doesn't change rhythm. You drink half of it down in long pulls, warm electric blue, faintly chemical, then chase it with a few swallows of the plain water. The ache behind your eyes you hadn't even been naming loosens its grip. You cap both bottles with something left in each, not full. But the shaking edge is gone, and the world sharpens back into focus. The grey light, the clang of the dogs at work below, the patient nails on the wood. Scritch, scritch. For the first time since you woke up in this stranger's apartment, your body isn't screaming at you. Just the door is. Study the fire escape route down. You keep low and work back to the window on your elbows, so your silhouette never fills the glass again. Bull's still down there. You can see the top of his shaved brow. the shotgun cradled loose, his body angled so the barrel sweeps lazily between your window and the mouth of the rear door. He's not looking up right now, but he doesn't have to. He's parked himself in the one spot that covers both ways down. You study it anyway, cold and slow, tracing every foot of it. The whole thing resolves in your head like a diagram, and the longer you look, the more it gives you. The fire escape hangs off the back wall in switchbacks. Your window opens onto the third-floor landing. Then an iron stair drops to the second, another to the first, and from there a counterweighted drop ladder that has to be lowered to reach the alley floor. That ladder is the problem. It's up right now, rusted, and dropping it means weight and a shriek of old metal, the loudest thing you could possibly do with Bull standing 40 feet away. But here's the gift the light gives you. The building's back wall isn't flat. A squared brick chimney stack juts out between the second and first floor landings, and from Bull's angle in the alley, that stack throws a blind wedge across the lower stair. You watch him shift his weight, watch the barrel track, and there's a stretch, second landing down to first, where the brick would put a body clean out of his sightline. He can't cover the window, the rear door, and see behind that stack all at once, not without moving. The other thing, there's a gap. One of the third to second flight's great steps is missing, a black rectangle of nothing about 4 steps down. Miss that in a hurry, in the wet, and you go through to the step below and make noise or break an ankle. Now you know it's there, so the route writes itself, ugly but real. Out the window low, down the first flight slow and minding the gap, and the moment you're behind that chimney stack, you're invisible, but you're also stuck there, because the drop ladder past it is a scream waiting to happen. Which means the plan only works one of 2 ways. The dogs leave first, or something pulls Bull's eyes and his boots off that spot, long enough for you to drop the ladder and run. You settle back below the sill, the map of it burned in behind your eyes. Down in the alley, a trunk lid slams. Salt laughs at something. The truck's filling. Scritch, scritch. Rig the door quieter first. You can't make the thing in the hallway stop wanting in, but you can make it matter less, kill the sound before the sound calls friends. That's the real danger of the patient scratching. Not the dragger itself, slow and stupid as it is, but the way noise walks a building and wakes up whatever else is dozing behind these doors. You go to work low and careful, close enough to the door that you can smell it through the gap, that wet copper rot, sweetish, awful, the couch first. The scratching carries because the door and the couch touch bare wood to bare wood, and the whole assembly hums like a soundboard every time those nails drag down it. So you break the contact. You pull the seat cushions free and wedge them upright between the couch back and the door, thick foam swallowing the gap. Then drape the worn rain poncho over the top and tuck it down the seam. Soft against hard. The vibration dies into it. The gap under the door you pack with a wadded bath towel from the dead family's linen closet, snugged in with the flat of the multi-tool so no smell and no sound slips the threshold either way. Last, you reset the couch's weight, not shoving it harder, which bangs, but easing your own weight low against the arm and walking it a half-inch tighter with your legs, silent, until it bites the frame. The dragger keeps at it, but now the sound reaches you, muffled and far, like someone worrying a problem 2 rooms over. Flannel and foam instead of drumskin, not gone, but it won't travel. It won't ring down the hall and pull a second face out of 3B. You sit back on your heels and let your pulse come down. Better. A boxed room, a fed body, a mapped way out, and a threat you've turned from an alarm into background noise. Below, through the glass, the tempo's changed. A tailgate bangs up and latches. Salt's voice drifts thin off the wet brick. That's the cable, that's the rims. We're heavy, 1 more car and we roll, yeah? 1 more. And Bull says nothing, which is Bull for hurry up. The truck's near full, your window's coming, look for a way to hurry them along. You press to the edge of the window and really look not at the dogs, at the whole board. What moves them? What scares them? Salt said it himself twice now. The swarm out front is the reason they're rushing. They're not afraid of you. They're afraid of the 400 hungry things a block away that haven't noticed the alley yet. So the lever isn't down in the alley at all. It's out front, and it comes together fast and ugly and good. This unit is a corner apartment. You already know it. The back windows give you the alley and the dogs. The front room, the one with the kids' bed, gives you the street, the supermarket lot, and the slow grey tide of the swarm spilling out of it, 400 bodies grinding against nothing, waiting for a reason. You don't need the swarm to reach you. You just need it to move toward the front of this building, loud enough that the sound of it carries around the block to the alley. Because you've watched Bull for an hour now, and Bull's whole religion is one line. He hates noise, and noise makes him leave. Salt already wants gone. One good scare, and they don't wait for the last car. They roll. The tool is right there in your pack. Something heavy through the front window into the lot, a hurled can, banging off a parked car, glass breaking, motion up high where a standing swarm loves to look. The leading edge peels toward the building. Hundreds of feet start to shuffle and drag and moan, and that sound, the sound of the dead getting interested, comes around the corner into the alley like weather rolling in. Bull hears his nightmare approaching and does the math he always does. Truck's heavy enough. Go. Then the cost. And you make yourself look straight at it. You'd be pulling a swarm toward your building. The front, not the back, but a swarm doesn't read a map. Move it, and you've started a clock. The dogs bolt, the alley opens, and you have a narrow, shrinking window to get down the fire escape and east before that grey tide wraps the corner and finds the back the same way it found the front. Fast, if you do it. No hesitating on the ladder. No second thoughts halfway down. You crouch at the seam between the two rooms, the quiet back window on one side, the front room and its street on the other, with a can of peaches heavy in your hand, and you know that the moment you throw it, the waiting is over for good. Scrap it, just wait them out. You set the can down slow. Roll it out of your own way against the wall, not today. A swarm is a fire you can start but not steer, and the plan's whole weight rested on outrunning something that doesn't get tired. You've already spent this morning learning what one bad noise costs. You won't spend the next one betting your legs against 400 of theirs. So you do the hardest thing, which is nothing. You settle at the back window with your gear at your knees and you let the dogs run their own clock. It takes maybe 15 minutes and it feels like an hour. The last car is a hatchback with a dead battery. You listen to Salt curse it, to the ratchet click of him pulling something out from under the hood, to Bull saying one low word that ends the argument about whether it's worth the time. A door slams, another. The tailgate goes up with a bang and a rattle of loose metal. Trucks riding low. Good. That's the number I wanted. Front's been too quiet too long. That kind of quiet means the herd's found something to lean on, and when it stops leaning, it comes this way. Don't want to be here counting rims when it does. The window's gone dark and stayed dark. Whatever was up there, the building's problem now, not mine. Sweep the glass one more time. Nothing. All right. Roll. Down in the alley, Bull's shaved brow tips up one last time. That flat little pause where the shotgun sweeps your dark window and finds nothing because you're a shape below the sill and you've learned to be patient. He holds it a beat. Then he turns away. The pickup's engine turns over rough, catches, settles into a wet idle. You hear Salt drop into the passenger seat, hear the springs, hear his voice half swallowed by the block. Told you, untouched, whole street, they're gonna love us. And then the truck backs, crunches over broken glass, and noses out of the alley the way they came in. The engine note climbs, fades, corners somewhere out of sight and is gone. The alley is empty. Rain slick brick, stripped cars sitting on their rims, a scatter of tools they didn't bother with, and the fire escape hanging there in the mist your way down, unwatched at last. Behind you, muffled through foam and flannel, the dragger still worries at the door, patient as ever, none the wiser. You've got the thing you waited for, and you know the shape of the climb. Out low, mind the missing step, 4 rungs down. Behind the chimney stack, you're invisible. And the drop ladder at the bottom is the one loud moment left, but there's no one down there now to hear it. Past that, the alley mouth, and east towards Riverside, while the morning's still young and the front swarm's still chewing on nothing. Grab the poncho and gear up first. You ease back to the door rig and peel the poncho off the top of the couch, slow, so the plastic doesn't crackle. The muffled scratching hitches for a second, the dragger feeling the change through the wood, then resumes its patient rhythm. The towel you leave packed under the door. It's done its job, and it's not worth the reach. Then you gear up the way you should have been able to all morning, methodical both hands. No rush now that the alley's yours. The poncho goes on first. Hood down for now. You'll want it up in the mist, but not blinding your peripheral on the ladder. You cinch the pack straps tight to your body, chest and waist both, so nothing swings or shifts its weight when you're 3 floors up on wet iron. Loose gear gets stowed, flashlight clipped where your hand knows it, the peaches and the rest riding low and snug. Weapons last, and you think it through. The baseball bat you sling across your back through the pack straps. Reach for it, not carry it. The claw hammer rides your belt on one hip, dead silent, good for a quiet kill or a stuck window. The combat knife, still tacky, with dried infected blood, wipes cleanish on the couch fabric and slots where your right hand falls without looking. And the revolver, 5 rounds, the scuffed primer last in the order, goes into the jacket pocket over your heart. Last resort. Warm against you like a bad idea you're keeping close. You stand in the middle of the dead family's living room, kitted and quiet, and for the first time, since you opened your eyes here, ready to leave. The grey window waits, past it, the fire escape, the empty alley, and the whole ruined city between you and a church that opens its doors at dusk. Pick over the alley tools on the way. You go while the going's good. The window slides up under your palms. You tested it earlier. It doesn't stick, and the mist breathes in cool and wet, smelling of rain and rust and the far-off char of downtown. You swing a leg over the sill onto the 3rd floor landing, keeping your weight spread, keeping low, and lower the window most of the way behind you out of old habit. Then you start down. The map you burned into your head does its work. 4 rungs down, you feel the black gap before you see it, step wide and long over the missing grate, boot finding solid iron on the far side without a rattle. The switchback to the 2nd landing, then the stretch behind the chimney stack, where an hour ago you were invisible to Bull now, just cold brick and mist. But you take it low anyway, muscle memory of being watched. The drop ladder's the last problem. You unhook the counterweight catch and ride it down instead of letting it fall, hanging your weight on the rungs so the rusted slides pay out slow, a long low glunk instead of a scream. It kisses the wet pavement. You step off into the alley, and for the first time since you woke up, your boots are on the ground and the sky is over your head, and nothing is between you and the open city. You crouch, listen. Rain hiss, the tick of the cooling somewhere. The far grind of the front swarm, still a block off, still busy, nothing close. Now the tools. The dogs strip the alley for anything that sells, but pros travel light and leave what's not worth truck space and what a scavenger crew calls garbage. A man on foot calls gear. You move down the line of gutted cars, quick and quiet, taking stock. It's slim, and it gets slimmer the longer you look. Salt had a good eye. Anything with copper or resale is long gone. What's left is the refuse of a professional job, a snapped tire iron, a plastic jug of washer fluid gone milky, a tangle of frayed jumper cables with the clamps cut off, a floor mat, a child's booster seat dark with rain. You pour through it with growing frustration, wasting seconds you can feel bleeding away, and the only thing worth the wait is a pair of stiff leather work gloves snagged half under a wheel, one cuff torn. But they'll save your palms on the next wet ladder or broken window. And it's while you're crouched over that, nothing, head down, hands busy, that the sound reaches you. A scrape, a drag, the soft catch of a breath that doesn't need breathing. You come up slow. At the east mouth of the alley, the way you need to go, a shape has wandered in out of the mist. A lone infected, tall, one arm hanging wrong, its head cocked toward the fresh grunk of a ladder it heard drop a minute ago. It hasn't fixed on you yet. It's just looking, swaying 40 feet off, chewing the air between you. One. Just one. But it's standing in your doorway, and behind it, past the alley mouth, the grey grind of the bigger swarm goes on and on. Close and kill it quietly. You don't wait for it to decide. A straggler that's looking becomes a straggler that's screaming the moment it fixes on you, and a scream this close to the swarm is the end of everything. Better to take it now, on your terms, before it knows you're a person and not just a sound. You slide the claw hammer off your belt, no swing and crack of a bat, just a short, heavy arc that ends things, and move. Low along the line of gutted cars, boots rolling heel to toe on the wet asphalt, using the hulks for cover as the gap closes, 30 feet, 20. The thing sways, head tilted the wrong way, milk-eyed, its ruined arm dragging. It hasn't turned. You reach it clean, right up on its blind side, close enough to smell the rot, coming off it in the wet, and swing. But the wet betrays you. Your back boot skids a half-inch on the slick asphalt at the worst instant, and the heavy claw end that should have punched through the temple glances, instead off the curve of its skull with a dull crock and tearing scalp, staggering it, not killing it. The thing lurches with the blow and turns into you faster than dead things should, its ruined mouth cracking open on a rising wet sound, and you're already moving to smother it because that sound cannot finish. You crash your forearm across its collarbone and drive it back into the flank of a stripped sedan, pinning it there, your gloved hand clamping over the working jaw. Teeth grind against the torn leather. Its good hand claws at your poncho, at your pack strap, cold fingers scrabbling for purchase, and the groan buzzes, trapped and furious against your palm. Shh, not a scream yet, but climbing and strong, and you can feel your grip on the slick jaw starting to slide. You've got it. Barely. One handful of thrashing dead weight and the hammer still in the other, cocked and waiting for the half second. You can trust the pin to hold without you. Switch to the knife, drive it up, you let the hammer go. It hits the pavement with a flat clank you don't have time to care about, and in the same motion, your right hand finds the knife where your hand always knows to find it. No wind-up, there's no room for one and no room for error. You reset your hips, drive your shoulder harder into its chest to buy one clean instant of stillness, and punch the blade up. The point goes in soft under the jaw, through the hollow behind the chin, and up, and the tip finds what it's looking for. The thrashing doesn't slow down, it stops all at once, the way a machine stops when the cord's pulled. The trapped groan dies against your glove mid-note. The cold fingers let go of your pack strap. Its full dead weight sags onto the blade and then onto you, and you let it slide down the flank of the sedan into a heap at the tire. The knife pulling free with a wet drag. Silence. Just the rain hiss and your own breath sawing behind your teeth. You crouch there over it a long moment, hammer forgotten on the ground, listening past the ringing in your ears for the one thing that matters. Whether any of that, the scuffle, the buzzing groan, the clank of the dropped hammer, carried to the wrong ears. Past the east mouth of the alley, the grey grind of the swarm goes on, unbothered, uninterested. No new note in it. No fresh dragging feet turning your way. You did it right this time. Quiet enough. You wipe the blade on the dead thing's shirt, sheath it, and reclaim the hammer from the puddle. Your hands aren't quite steady, but they're steady enough. The alley mouth is clear now, the doorway east open at last. Beyond it, the mist-grey sprawl of ashfall, and somewhere out in it, past the swarm and the smoke and whatever else the morning's holding, a church in Riverside that opens its doors at dusk. Search the dead straggler, you crouch by the heap at the tire and pat it down fast, breathing through your mouth against the smell. Grim work, but pockets are pockets, and a man on foot can't afford to be squeamish. The straggler was somebody, once. Under the filth, he's wearing a canvas work apron over a polo, and clipped to it a laminated badge, the photo grinning up from a life a few days dead. Hollis brine rung and real hardware. Ask me. Poor bastard. You leave the badge on him. Names aren't worth carrying. The apron's better than the man. Deep pockets, the kind a hardware clerk fills without thinking, and they cough up real gear. A heavy box cutter with a fresh snap blade, half a roll of duct tape, still tacky and useful, and tucked in a chest pocket against a shift that never ended an unopened protein bar, dense and squat and gloriously past caring about the blood on the wrapper. You pocket all three, not a haul, but tape and a blade and a meal are 3 more reasons to be alive than you had a minute ago, and out here, that's the whole math. You rise, knees cracking, and turn your face to the east mouth of the alley. Rain-slick brick, strip cars on their rims, and past it the grey grind of the swarms, still a block off, still busy with nothing. The city waits, enormous and patient. Time to move, tape up and rig your gear. You crouch back against the sedan, out of the alley's sightline, and spend a few careful minutes making yourself quiet, the way you're learning this city rewards. The duct tape earns its keep fast. The pack buckle that ticks against the D-ring when you walk gets wrapped snug, killing the tell. The claw hammer that knocked against the slung bat, you bind flat to your belt so it rides dead silent until you want it. The torn glove cuff you mend with 2 tight turns, no more snag at the worst moment. Last, a small trick. A length of tape pressed sticky side out over your boot soles, lifting the grit and a stray shard of glass that would have announced you on a quiet floor. You test the step. Nothing. Just the whisper of wet rubber. You flex the mended glove, feel the pack sit tight and mute against your spine, and rise into a low, ready crouch. No rattle, no swing. Nothing on you to give you away but your own breath and the pounding under your ribs. The alley mouth is 10 yards off grey light and mist beyond it, and past that the far grind of the swarm, busy with nothing. You're as ready as this morning's going to let you be. Move to the alley mouth and scout. You come up out of the crouch, just enough to move and ghost the 10 yards to the alley mouth, shoulder to the wet brick, stopping where the shadow ends. You don't lean out. You let one eye clear the corner, slow, the way you'd peel a bandage, and you read the street. It resolves out of the mist, mostly clear enough to move on, not enough to trust. The alley empties onto a wider avenue running left to right. To your right, southward, the block ends at the supermarket lot, and that's where the swarm is. A slow grey acreage of them milling in the parking field, pressing at the storefront, drawn to something you can't see. 200, maybe more. Not coming this way, not yet. That's the direction you don't go. Straight ahead, east across the avenue, the way opens, a row of dead storefronts under a rusted awning. A pharmacy with its gate half down, a laundromat, a check cashing place, and beyond their rooftops. The reason, you know this is the way. An elevated rail line on concrete pillars marching east into the haze. Follow the rail, follow it to the river, to Riverside. Cover between here and there, a stalled city bus, slumped dead center in the avenue, doors folded open, a steel island you could put your back to halfway across. That's the read, and here's where it fails you. The mist hangs thicker over the storefronts than it should, and the angle of the bus swallows a wedge of the avenue you simply cannot see. There's movement over by the pharmacy gate, low, brief, gone behind the bus, before your eye caught the shape of it. Person, infected, a dog. You couldn't say. And you don't like that, you couldn't say it. The street looks passable. It also looks like it's keeping something back from you. Toss debris to test the blind spot. Wick thought for 6 seconds stone. Off the gate. Somebody threw a stone and then didn't move. That's not a hungry one. That's a person checking the room before they walk into it. Smart. Smart is worse than stupid out here. Stupid you can outrun. Don't answer it. Let them wonder. Axe stays down. Don't flash steel. Don't give them a reason. The alley across the way, that's where it came from. There. Ahead. Low at the corner. 2 eyes doing to me exactly what mine are doing to them. Great. We've found each other. Question is what they want and whether they've got the swarm's attention or I do. Ilsa needs the insulin by tonight or none of this matters, and I am not dying in a laundromat over a standoff with some careful nobody. So, they can move first. I've got a wall at my back and an axe. I can wait longer than they can. You hold the corner and let your eye adjust, and now that you know where to look, the mist gives her up. A figure eases half a head past the rear of the bus, low, controlled, no wasted motion. A woman, lean, grey hood drawn up, rain running off an olive slicker, and down along her body, held so it won't catch the light, the long, dull line of an axe. She's not looking for you anymore. She's looking at you, pale eyes fixed straight across the avenue to your corner, having done the same arithmetic on you that you just did on her. Neither of you moves. The rain ticks on the bus roof. The swarm grinds away to the south, indifferent 40 seconds of open, wet asphalt between you and her, and none of it crossed. It's a standoff, and it's an honest one. She's got a wall at her back and a blade in her hand and every reason to wait. So do you. Whatever she's doing at that pharmacy, she wants it more than she wants a fight. You can read that much in how carefully she's not raising the axe. But careful cuts both ways, and she hasn't given you an inch or a word. The move, if there's going to be one, is yours to make. Call across an offer of peace. Wick thought for 5 seconds, Sam. Going east. Doesn't ask my name back good. Means they're not fishing, or they're smart enough not to. Voice is steady, no wobble, no bake, not swarm bait, not a runner. East, past the rail. Fine. East is away from me and away from what I need, so let them go east and Godspeed. Don't offer anything. Don't ask anything. A closed mouth doesn't get robbed, but steady, careful, threw a stone before they crossed. That's a person who plans. People who plan are worth exactly one thing to me, knowing which way they're pointed, so I can point the other way. Tell them the road, send them off, get back to the gate before the light burns and Ilsa's numbers drop. When she finally speaks, it's just as flat as you gave it. Pitched low, meant to travel and no further. Wick hen, go east. A beat. She tips her hooded head a fraction, south, toward the grinding grey mass at the supermarket lot, without ever taking her eyes off you. Not that way, obviously. Rail's your line, stay under it. Keep the pillars on your left. It bends toward the water in about 6 blocks. The axe shifts, not up, just resettled in her grip. A small punctuation. That's the whole conversation, Sam. I've got somewhere to be and it's not here talking to you. She doesn't move to leave. She's waiting for you to peel off your corner and commit to the crossing so she can watch your back go and get on with whatever's got her hunched at a pharmacy gate in the rain. She's given you the road. It's a fair trade for you gone. But she's also just told you 2 things without meaning to. She knows this ground cold and she's on a clock. Offer to trade or help, Wick thought for 10 seconds. There it is. Nobody offers hands for free, so what's the angle? Maybe there isn't one, which is worse because then I have to decide if I believe in decent, and decent gets people killed. But the gate, that's the truth I can't talk my way around. It's down to my knees and jammed on a bent track, and I've been sawing at it with an axe head like an idiot for 20 minutes, and every scrape is a dinner bell. 2 people, a pry tool, 30 seconds instead of 10 more minutes. Ilsa's numbers, the light. God, I hate that the math works. Don't say yes like it's a gift. Make it a job with edges. Test them if they balk at the terms they were always going to rob me. If they take a bad deal too fast, they're desperate. And desperate's its own problem. Keep the axe. Keep Ilsa's name in my mouth and nowhere else. Something in her face does the work of a long pause without her spending the time on one. She hates it. You can see her hate it, and she does it anyway. Wick gates jammed. Down to about here. Her free hand chops a flat line at knee-height B, bent on the track, and I've been chewing at it with this thing loud enough to ring for blocks. The axe lifts an inch to indicate itself and drops again. You've got a pry tool. That's a 2-minute job instead of 10 more of me making noise. Fine. That much I'll take. Then the edges come out quiet and quick before you can feel good about it. But we do it my way. You crack the gate, I go in, I take what I came for. That's mine, not up for splitting. Anything else on the shelves, you can strip the place after I'm gone, I don't care. You keep your hands where I can see them the whole time. And if it goes bad in there, you don't grab me, you don't grab my bag, you run your own way. We're not partners, we're 2 people prying a gate. She lets that sit 1 second. That work for you, Sam? Or was the helpful thing a story? Across the wet avenue, 40 seconds of open ground still lie between you and the swarm to the south grinds on, and somewhere behind that gate is whatever's worth her standing here, making a deal she plainly can't stand to make. Take the deal on her terms. You make the bus and press into its steel shadow, and that's where it goes wrong. You don't see it until it hits the glass. A face, grey and split-lipped, slams the inside of the bus window inches from your head. Wham! A walker, trapped inside since God knows when, and the sight of you sets it off. It hammers the glass again. An ugly rhythmic wham, wham, wham that rolls out across the open avenue like a struck drum. You freeze for half a heartbeat, which is half a heartbeat too long. South, at the supermarket lot, the grinding grey mass changes. Heads come up. The nearest edge of the swarm, 50, 60 bodies closest to the avenue, turns as one loose thing toward the noise and begins to drift. Not fast, but toward you, toward the drum. At the pharmacy gate, Wick's head snaps around. Whatever face she'd been keeping drops clean off, and what's under it is pure cold urgency. She's already on her knees at the bent steel, jamming the axe head under the lip. Move, gate, now! She hisses. That's your 2 minutes gone, Sam. We've got maybe one. The trapped thing keeps hammering, the swarm keeps turning, and the only way off this avenue that isn't through 200 of them is a jammed gate at your knees and the pry tool on your belt. Sam slips into the bus and silences the trapped walker with a clean, quiet kill before the swarm's edge locks on. You don't answer Wick. You move. The bus doors gape open at the front, folded back on their hinges. You go in low and fast. Tape soles silent on the ribbed rubber floor, and there it is, jammed in the third row, both fists slamming the fog glass, so fixed on the empty street beyond that it never registers the thing coming up its own aisle. Rainwater and old blood slick the seatbacks. Close air, wet copper stink, the wham of it filling the tin box. You don't swing. No room, no time. Left hand into the greasy hair, knife already coming up under the shelf of the skull. Kahake, and it drops, just drops, folds over the seatback, like a coat someone forgot, one hand sliding down the glass. The hammering stops. The whole avenue goes suddenly, enormously quiet, just the mist ticking on the bus roof and your own breath sawing in the dark. Out through the windshield you can see the swarm's leading edge, that drifting 60, spilling off the south end of the block. For a moment they keep coming, blind momentum. Then the bell's gone. The nearest few slow heads swinging, the pack losing its shape, the drift bleeding sideways as they lose the thread of what pulled them. Not gone, but stalled, milling, bought. Wick, portrait, Wick. The hell was that? Wick hisses from the gate, axe frozen mid-saw, staring at the bus. Then it lands on her, what you just did, and her jaw sets. Wick, portrait, Wick. Fine. Now get over here and open my gate before they remember they're hungry. The pharmacy's a short sprint across open pavement. The gate's down to your knees on a bent track, and your claw hammers on your belt work the bent track smart. You cross the pavement in a low sprint and drop to a knee at the gate. No brute force yanking you. Read it first. The whole thing's binding at one point. The left track's kicked off its runner and buckled, pinching the slats so the gate's welded itself half down. Force it straight up and it'll scream like a kettle. So you don't. You set the hammer's claw against the buckled track itself, not the gate, and lever sideways, walking the bent rail back toward true metal gives with a low swallowed grunk. The moment the pinch releases, you get your shoulder under the slats and lift, and the gate rolls up its runner smooth and nearly silent, waist high, then chest high. Wick. Huh. A flick of green eyes, half surprised. She was braced for the noise too. Wick, portrait, Wick. You've done that before. Not a question. And she's already ducking under, axe first. Inside the pharmacy is a cave of grey light and long shadow. Shelves stand mostly stripped, snack racks bare, cooler doors hanging open and dark, a register drawer smashed on the floor. But it's the back nobody's reached. A chest-high counter, and behind it the pharmacy proper, gated off, with its own little roll-down grate intact, locked. That's where the drugs are. Wick's already moving for it, fast and certain, like she's walked this floor in her head 100 times. The air is close and sour. Somewhere deeper in the dark, past the far end of an aisle, something makes a small, wet sound. A shift, a drag, not the street. In here. Wick freezes at the counter, axe coming up, head cocked toward the noise. Wick portrait Wick. "Tell me that was you," she breathes. "It wasn't you. Stalk the aisle and kill it quiet." You slide into the aisle, knife low, easing toward the wet, dragging sound at the dark end. Cough syrup and rot. You keep your weight on your toes, tape soles quiet, reading the black shapes of the shelving for the low silhouette you expect crawling along the floor, which is why you don't see that it isn't on the floor anymore. Your shin catches a fallen shelf arm in the dark. A cascade of pill bottles goes skittering clatter-clatter, and the thing that lunges out of the shadow at waist height isn't dragging. It's coiled. A pharmacy clerk in a blood-stiff smock with both legs crushed to ribbons, but an upper body still terribly strong. And it comes off its stumps in a single spring and takes you around the middle. You go down into the shelving together. Cans and boxes rain off the racks. It's on top of you. All shoulders and gnashing weight, its ruined legs uselessly kicking, both cold hands clamped in the canvas of your jacket, hauling itself up your chest toward your throat. Its jaw works, teeth clicking on nothing, breath like a drain. Your knife hands pinned under its knee stump, the blade trapped between your bodies. And it opens its mouth and lets out a long, wet grating, shriek that goes straight out the open gate into the street. Out there, in the grey, the milling swarm's heads turn as one. Its face lowers towards yours. You've got a free left hand jammed under its chin, and maybe a second before it's at your neck.